Hey there, Eagles. It's Miss Tina. I wanted to share one more book with you before we begin our official spring break. And the book that I want to share is called A Regular Flood of Mishap, written by Tom Birdseye and illustrated by Megan Lloyd. This book goes out in particular to Mr. Duncan. It has a lot of similarities to the morning message that Mr. Duncan shares each day at the end of the announcements. So give it a listen and see if you can figure out what the similarity is. A Regular Flood of Mishap. I've lived here on Mossy Rock Creek all my life, 6 years, but now I'm leaving for good. It's true. My name is Ima Bean, and you heard me right. I've packed that old suitcase Aunt Etta Bean gave me last Christmas, and I'm ski-daddling out of here as fast as a frog off a hot frying pan, because my family doesn't love me anymore. And I can't blame 'em. You see, I goofed. I didn't mean to make such a terrible mess, though. I was just trying to help. It all started when I was down by the creek and spied Grandpa Bean's fishing pole propped up on a rock. "Why, Ima Bean," I said to myself. "Grandpa Bean has gone off and plumb forgotten his fishing pole." So I ran on over and picked that pole up. Wouldn't you know, Grandpa Bean had plumb forgotten his fishing line, too. It was still dangling in the water like it had nothing else to do. "Better take that line to him as well, Ima Bean," I said to myself. I was just trying to help. A fishing pole's not much more than a long stick without it, now is it? So I commenced to reeling that line in. Wouldn't you know, Grandpa Bean had plumb forgotten he had a hook tied to the end of that line, and it sure seemed snagged. So I took a good hold of Grandpa Bean's pole, and I cranked, and I yanked, but that hook just refused to come loose. Wouldn't you know, Grandpa Bean had plumb forgotten about that big log on the creek bottom. I reckoned his fishing hook was stuck in that thing as sure as pigs like mud. "Ima Bean, this calls for a little more oomph," I said to myself. I was just trying to help. So I put my feet up against a big rock, and I took a big breath, and I closed my eyes real tight, and I heaved, and I hawed, and I grunted like a big old fat hog. And then I gave one big, huge, humongous pull, and directly I heard something hit the water. I opened my eyes and discovered it was me. Water was everywhere right about then, I noticed, coming up to way over my head. So spitting and a sputtering, grumbling and a muttering, I swam to shore and climbed up on the bank, dragging Grandpa Bean's fishing line behind me. Wouldn't you know, that line wasn't stuck in a big log like I thought it was. Grandpa Bean had plumb forgotten he had some bait on that hook of his. He'd gone and caught himself a big old catfish. "Heavens to Bean, Ima," I said to myself. "You better get that fish on home for fixing." I was just trying to help. "Grandpa Bean will be excited as a fly at a marmalade picnic when he sees this. Catfish. Yeah, hooty-hoo." But then I saw Grandpa Bean's fishing pole broke in two. Dear me, oh my, black clouds fly my troubles in the sky. I'd goofed. So I ran home real quick to get a piece of string to try and tie that fishing pole back together. Wouldn't you know, I'd plumb forgotten that my daddy, people around Mossy Rock Creek know him as Garbanzo Bean, had wrapped that string real tight around the barnyard gate for a reason, to keep it closed. When I untied it, the gate swung open and out galloped Hester the mule like kids at Christmas. Right through the clothesline he went, dragging it and Mama Lima Bean's wash behind him. "I'll get 'em, Daddy. Don't cry, Mama, I yelled. I was just trying to help. Whoa, Hester, whoa! But Hester didn't whoa. So I grabbed Brother Chilibean's bicycle to help chase that mule down. Wouldn't you know, I'd plumb forgotten that the front tire of Chili's bicycle needed a new whatchamacallit, or whatchama-other-call-it, from when he'd run it into the pig trough. I got no more than 1 foot shy of 2 feet going when that front wheel came off that bike and took off on its own like it had a previous engagement. I was thrown face foremost into the cabbages and carrots and taters and maters Mama had piled in the garden cart, which then began to roll. But I was just trying to help, I yelled as that fast-moving garden cart ran over Daddy and sent Mama and Brother Chilibean diving into the bushes. Me and those cabbages and carrots and taters and maters were soon swerving down the road like a snake in a cactus patch, gaining on Hester the mule and all that laundry faster than a cow could say, "Moo to you too." A regular flood of mishap it was. Things were beginning to look kinda wild. But, wouldn't you know, things can always get wilder. I'd plumb forgotten it was market day. Just as I reached rocket ship speed and was running within a curly hair stretch of Hester the mule, around the bend came little Sister Pinto Bean and Grandpa Bean in the farm truck, which was all loaded up with apples. Yep, wild indeedy I'm a bean, I said to myself, and I knew for sure it was true. So I yelled at Grandpa Bean that he'd plumb forgotten his fishing pole and that I was just trying to help, but maybe he'd better get the farm truck out of the way before I explained it all. Wouldn't you know, he did just that. Dear me, oh my, black clouds fly my troubles in the sky. I'd goofed. So about then is when I decided to leave Mossy Rock Creek for good. I bailed out of that garden cart, cabbages and carrots and taters and maters flying every which way, ran flea hop fast back home through the woods, and packed my suitcase. Gotta find a new family, I'm a bean, I said to myself. You've gone and broke Grandpa Bean's fishing pole, and let Hester the mule out, and tore down Mama's clothesline, and broke Brother Chilibean's bike even worse than it was, and dumped those cabbages and carrots and taters and maters, and run Sister Pinto Bean and Grandpa Bean and the family apples off the road. It's a terrible mess, a regular flood of mishap. No one will love you anymore. Then I started to cry, 'cause I knew it was true. But, wouldn't you know, I'd plumb forgotten. In my family, you're always family, even when you goof. Okay, Eagles, just a reminder that Whiteford's teachers and staff are thinking of you. We're here for you, no matter what. Or, as Mr. Duncan would say during his morning announcements, remember that we love you and there's nothing you can do about it. Take care.